morning, Sunrise Extra viewers. Welcome to a Wednesday. We are talking March Madness. Not just March Madness, but everything that the Oregon teams are doing, right? We've got the OSU men and the OSU women still in the NCAA tournament. The Ducks men are still in it. Sorry that the Beaver Nation lost the women's team, but they, gave a gallant effort. Yes. And we've got two very special guests with us to talk about OSU. Let's get to some of those pictures because we have Charlie Sitton, who is an OSU basketball alum. He was inducted into the Oregon Sports Hall of Fame, and he was actually on the last OSU team to make the Sweet 16 back in 1982. Also joining us live on the stream this morning is Joslyn Tinkle. She's the host of Talkin Beavers podcast, which airs on NBC Sports Northwest. She's also the daughter of OSU men's basketball coach Wayne Tinkle and a former Stanford and WNBA basketball player herself.
That's a lot.
A big breath because those intros are impressive, but they're two impressive individuals. You guys, thanks so much. How are you doing? Charlie, I'll start with you. This is just incredible watching these guys all these years later because you've been to the tournament. Can you talk a little bit about the mentality as a former player that you have to have going into this?
Well, you have to stay focused because there's a lot of outside stuff going on back when we played. This year, I think, is definitely different with COVID. They've kind of got them all in one area, keep them kind of, used for a better word, locked down. So it's a little different that way. But it is definitely a great experience. A lot of media attention. People you didn't know you were friends with come out of the woodwork and say, "Hey, how you doing? What's going on?" And at least they don't have to deal with finding tickets for everybody this year. So that's a good thing too. So that's really what happens. But it's a great experience. It's something I'll never forget. Getting to the final in '82 was something that, like I said, I'll never forget. It was a great run we were on, similar to what the team's doing these days.
Well, and everyone doubted this team. I love those shirts that OSU came out with. They said from 12th to 1st. Yes. That is just awesome. I mean, they had a great run in the Pac-12, and it's got to be really fun to watch this team. Personally, Charlie, what impresses you most about this specific team?
Well, I think there just was no quit in these guys. I mean, Coach Tinkle obviously has got them to buy into the team atmosphere, whatever, however he did it. They had some rough stretches like a lot of teams did this year with the way the season was going, but they bought in. They had some great leadership from some of the older players that really stepped up. Some of the new guys have stepped up and made some great plays, big shots, played, and I think all in all they've played together as a team, and it seems like when one guy comes in or the next guy comes in, they really don't lose a step. They kind of keep moving forward instead of moving backwards like maybe it happened in the past years. But I'm very happy for them. Very impressed with their defense, how it's picked up. And I'm impressed with Ethan Thompson, how he stepped up and kind of become the leader of this team. I watched him play one game somehow on TV when I was in California once, and he's kind of reminds me, he was playing in the state championship in California at that time, and he was the leader of that team too. And I got to give him credit for stepping up and kind of putting things on his shoulder and taking this team over.
Okay, Joslyn, my question for you is about your dad to start off with. Wayne Tinkle is the coach there on the sideline. I was joking with Joslyn before we got on the stream. I'm always drawn to the coach because he is a mountain of a man. You said he was 6'11". Can you give us the inside scoop? What's he saying? What are those boys feeling like? What is going on behind the scenes that may not be so obvious to the rest of us?
I don't think there's a lot that isn't obvious and on display. I mean, he's a passionate guy. He cares a lot about these guys on and off the court, and I think it shows because I even had a couple former teammates who kind of get this and have been here before as well, and they said, "Man, it's really cool to see that they look like they just love playing for your dad. They love playing for each other, and with that, I mean, it's not easy. I mean, especially in a year like this where." That camaraderie and that took a little bit longer to form and mesh because they weren't getting as much time together as they were used to. It took a little time, but like Charlie said, they've really just come a long way and have enjoyed playing together. And yeah, I mean, I think my dad's just instilling a lot of confidence and belief in him because he's behind the scenes every day. I mean, he's helped lay down this foundation for years now. So it's cool to see it, paying off. and them achieving success. But he's a passionate guy. He's competitive as they come. But he's just super proud of this group, and I think he's just kind of reiterating that, and he's letting him know that he's proud of them, and keep this thing going.
Joslyn, when you look back at where this specific team started this season, do you think that you, as kind of an OSU insider, and the team and your dad, did they expect them to get this far?
I think that's always the end goal, right? And I know I spoke to my dad yesterday on my Talkin Beavers podcast, and we talked about that growth from where they were in the start of the year to where they are now. And I think early on, it's safe to say, it didn't quite look like that. He knew that there was a lot of things that needed to be done and worked on, and steps they needed to take to get to this point. But to piggyback what Charlie said, all of them bought in. I think there was kind of a switch that happened once conference play started up, and we saw glimmers of what they were capable of and the potential they had, but there were still some other kind of factors, maybe guys playing for themselves a little bit. And again, still kind of trying to figure out one another. But I think once they got into their conference run, guys bought in. That was exactly right. Those words exactly. And here they are. And he knew when, they kind of hit that home stretch against Cal. He actually said that yesterday when they kind of went on that Bay Area road trip, got those 2 wins. They had a tough, last home game with Oregon. But going into the tournament, they were super confident. They were playing well at the right time, playing for each other, playing hard, really picked up their defense. And they knew going into the tournament that they had a good shot of winning this thing.
Charlie, what advice would you give the guys heading into the Sweet 16 against Loyola of Chicago? What do they need to know? What do you know now that you wish that they could just mind meld with you to get through this next game?
Good question.
Well, I think just enjoy it. I mean, go play the game. You've gotten this far. Go enjoy the game. Don't get caught up in all the pressure. It's just another game. I mean, this team has played so well, like Joslyn said, since the Pac-12s or since Cal or whatever. But at the end of the season, that they kind of play freely. They're not always looking at the bench after they miss a shot. They're looking at one another to kind of pick one another up and just go play as a team and play free, shoot the ball if you're open, play defense, help one another, and don't get caught up in all the extra hype with this ball game. It is just another game. These games are getting more and more important as they get closer and closer to the final goal. Let's face it. But I think that's the thing, that if they could get one thing from me is go enjoy the moment, play like you've done for your whole life since you're probably a little kid, and give it the best effort and do it as a group. I mean, if they play defense as a group, move the ball around, extra pass, do the little things, there'll be some little things that's going to make the difference in this ball game.
Do you think, you mentioned this on actual Sunrise show before this, you think defense is going to be the key to victory, the key to them progressing beyond this point?
Well, their defense is what's kind of turned around, I think, in this whole run they've been on. I mean, you get a team like the Ducks, for example, that play. Sometimes they come out and score a whole bunch of points, but Oregon State's been able to kind of shut them down at different times with their defense. And I'm keeping track of the stats, but I think Oregon State's defense, I think at the 3-point line, has been phenomenal here at the end of the year. Typically when I played and defense turns into offense, it's always nice to get some easy baskets. But if you can stop the other team, Oregon State struggled with turning the ball over in the last game, but they still stopped the team at the other end, so they couldn't score. And so I think you got to be able to score. I think Coach Tinkle's got a nice system in place so the kids know where their scoring going to come from. But I also think a defense is a team game, and you got to work together to stop the other team. All 5 guys have to work at it.
Yeah.
So you guys on the stream, viewers get to weigh in and ask questions and just, cheer you guys on. A couple, Jake Moe and Dan McFarling, both say, "Go Beavers." And then Charlie Renee Robertson says, "Hey, Charlie, Rick says to say hello, go Beavs. My husband and Charlie grew up together." So
cool.
Yeah, and then And Christy Shirk also says, way to go, Beavers. So proud. You guys are getting lots of love. I love this one too. Dan also weighed in and says, we hope Sister Jean gets a busy signal when she places her call on Saturday. So that's the 101-year-old nun
I was gonna ask.
roots for Loyola all the time. She's there like literally in her little wheelchair, and she always says a prayer before, and it's like not your traditional. It's like all about basketball. It's hilarious. Charlie, tell us a little bit about your favorite March Madness memory from back in the day. What's something that stands out to you?
Well, I think when we beat, we won our 2 games in Boise, and we, as a group, we flew in there and we played, and we beat a couple teams. It was great. I think it was Pepperdine, and I forget who the second team was, Idaho. And but anyway, it was just a great feeling, great moment to know that we accomplished, kind of what our goal was set for, and to move on to that next stage. We're flying from one place to the other to get to go to out to I think we ended going to Utah and playing, and then we got to play against Patrick Ewing in Georgetown, and Georgetown had like 12 guys. It was like a wave of guys that kept coming and pressing us. But the neatest thing, I think, was that winning those games and moving on, advancing is always the best step. But I think my moment when we came back from sweeping my freshman year, when we swept in the Pac-12 for the first time ever, Oregon State swept USC and UCLA, and we came back to the Portland airport, and the Portland airport was packed with people both going down the concourse on both sides, supporting us, was probably the moment in my time. Other than winning a state championship in McMinnville with you, Brenda, that was pretty clutch too. That was a good time too. But the NCAA tournament is just such a neat thing, and as Joslyn knows, she had some great success at Stanford, and her dad did at Montana, and it's something as a player. That's what you work for, is to get to that next step and show your skills and show your team and just kind of show all the hard work that you put in the off season and during the season and all that stuff to get to where you are. And what a great run Oregon State's on. Boy, it's a great run. And we all know, we've all heard that cliche too. You always want to peak at the end of the year during the playoffs, during the tournament. And Coach Tinkle, I'll give him and his staff credit for what they got it done this year, and they peaked at the right time.
That's right.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, Joslyn, well, I love that we're talking Pac-12 because you played in the Pac-12 too. Stanford was Pac-12 when you were there. Great conference, and this is great exposure for the Pac-12. This has been an awesome season for teams all around, right?
Absolutely, and I had an incredible experience playing for Stanford, and I think what's really neat to see, especially on the women's side, is the strength in numbers heading into tournaments each year, and this year on the men's side. I mean, you have 4 Pac-12 teams heading into the Sweet 16, which is rare and pretty neat, and so it says a lot about the conference. I think it's we've known how tough it has been of a conference for a while now. So it's nice to see some national recognition. I think, there's a lot of tough players on this West Coast, and they're on full display now. So it is cool to see both men and women's side, representing Pac-12 really well.
We haven't talked about the women's team just yet. OSU Beavs lost yesterday. Such a bummer. What kind of insights, what did you see happen there, Joslyn, that maybe didn't go in their favor?
Credit to Scott and his squad. It's been a tough year, and we saw them grow really as a team too. They kind of took that COVID pause, and they came out of that stronger. And they're a tough team. He's done some incredible things there with their program, but they had a tough challenge in South Carolina. Dawn Staley has that team playing really, really well. Kind of comes down to getting stops, defense. Defense wins games, and putting the ball in the hoop. It's as simple as that, and easier said than done. But you just kind of saw that, fall short for them yesterday, which is unfortunate. But they had a great season. Yeah. I know that they've come a long way with their program, and they'll be just fine.
Absolutely. We're going to talk about Charlie's high school playing days in a second, but Joslyn, before I do that, I have got to ask you about all the controversy over the last week or so with the women in the tournament not getting the same amenities as the guys, the weight room, all that stuff. Can you say more about what you were thinking when you saw that, and how it kind of relates to what you've experienced?
Yeah, I mean, when I saw it, it's definitely unacceptable. I think all we're striving for is that same respect. If that were me walking into that weight room, I know that we wouldn't be happy because we're doing the same thing. We're working just as hard, and so I'm glad it was a little bit exposed and brought to life the real issue that it is a serious problem still, and we got to kind of fight extra hard to get that equal respect. But I saw that, it kind of got the wheels turned a little bit and they were able to get the proper amenities and weight room quick. But, it's sad and it's unfortunate and unacceptable at this point to have that, happen in order for it to change. But I hope that we can be better and learn from this.
Well, I hope they have learned their lesson for sure.
Yeah, and you went to the March Madness tournament. Was it once or how many times?
I went all 4 years, luckily, and I played in 3 Final Fours.
Yeah.
I lost a national championship. We never quite got over the hump, but went to the Final Four for each year, and an incredible experience. It truly is. So seeing that was sad because it just goes to show that we still got a long way, but an incredible experience, and this women's and men's tournament has been incredible to watch.
Okay, as promised, Charlie Sitton, McMinnville High School alum. When I heard that you were going to be on here, I was thrown back to my high school days. Charlie and I went to McMinnville High School. We are both Grizzlies. You were a year ahead of me in school, but in 1979, I still smile when I think about it because the boys basketball team won the state championship and changed McMinnville forever.
Wow.
It was way dinky. There was no wine country back then. It was like lots of farm fields out in 99 West. I mean, it was a little tiny town. And what you guys did, making that undefeated season, like just the headline, was amazing. Can you talk about the outpouring of love that you got and the memories that you have and the bond that you have with those players?
Well, it was a great run, and obviously, we grew up playing basketball as kids in elementary school and all that, and it was 3 or 4 of us or 5 of us, we got through the whole thing together. We had a Chris Winkler who was in the class below us, but my class of kids, there was a class of 80. There was probably 6 or 7 of us that played on that championship team, and those are the guys that you grow up with, you spend time with, you learn a lot about life with, and to be able to win a state championship, and when you win championships, like I said earlier, they can't take those away from you. I mean, it's something that's your name's in the record book, and then they always go back when you get old like me, 39 years later, like they talk about, you gotta get interviewed because 39 years ago we won a game in the NCAA tournament at OSU, and unfortunately it took that long to get back there, but the high school championship was definitely a memory that I'll never forget. Parades in the city of McMinnville. It was Ma Wheeler. You remember Ma Wheeler, our cook?
Absolutely.
Big pans of cinnamon rolls for us players, and it was just the great experience that we have, and to go back. McMinnville is one of those towns, Brenda. You probably realize you and I probably grew up and couldn't wait to get out of there. Let's go somewhere where there's a few more things going on. And now, as we look back, the way McMinnville's changed, it's like, well, maybe it's not such a bad place after all. Maybe we can go back out there. But March is a basketball player. Joslyn knows is what you play for. If whatever level it is, if it's college, high school, that's what you really shoot for is March, to be still playing when it gets time to the championships and all that fun stuff. And to have the experience I had in high school and college in the state of Oregon is being born and raised and now having a business here. It's been a great experience. Great deal.
Charlie, Mike Morris weighed in on the feed and said, what was more rewarding, winning a state championship or getting to watch CJ win a couple at Westland?
Well, my son ended up winning. I coached my son's group of kids at Westland, and when they were in youth basketball, probably like Joslyn had to put up with her dad coaching her when she was younger. So all the parents and kids, but I coached my son's group of kids, which kind of had a similar thing that we had in McMinnville. there was 4, 5, 6 or 7 of those kids. I think were all league in the Three Rivers League by the time they got to high school. They added a couple players in the end, but he won. He actually beat me. He won 2 state championships at Westland, and I only got 1. So he was a part of the Westland run when they won 4 in a row.
That's fantastic. Joslyn, we're going to put you on the spot. I'll ask Charlie the same thing, too, as we kind of wrap up here this morning. But give us your prediction for OSU's next game. Oh, look, she's like, I'm not going to do that.
That's easy. I'm ready for, I'm ready for this prediction. No, I mean, I'm excited. I'm going to head back down to Indy. My family's been fortunate enough to be along on this ride with them. So we'll head there this weekend. I've seen them play some incredible basketball. So if they continue to play together and tough, sorry, my dog in the background, together and tough, they're playing with all the confidence in the world, and that's the scariest team to play. I think we all know that, and it's the fun and the madness of March. And so I'm excited. I think if they can play loose, play for each other, we're gonna get the outcome that we want, and that's the whole goal, is survive and advance. And so I'm excited. I know that we can get to that Elite Eight and on. So we're gonna be dancing for a while, and I'm excited. So I'm super proud of the group and the guys and my dad. And again, it's fun to achieve the success, but know also what goes on behind the scenes and them doing things the right way.
All right, Charlie, your take.
I agree with Joslyn. I think they're in a great chance here to keep this run going. I mean, they're peaking at the right time. Things keep going along. They're that team that nobody really wants to play. So they've proved that in the Pac-12 championship by getting on the run and beating teams there that maybe some people might not have thought they should have. But come on, as a team, they feel they can win, and they've been playing well together. And shoot, why shouldn't they be able to win the next game or two? Come on, let's keep it going.
Yeah, they win it all. All right, you guys, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Us Oregonians here, we're so excited because we've got the Beavers and the Ducks still in it. Let's see if we can remember this, Brenda. I'm going to give people a recap really quick before we say goodbye. So Oregon State men play Saturday morning against Loyola of Chicago, right? And then we got the Oregon Ducks women's team playing Georgia today, actually at noon on ESPN2, and then the men's Ducks team playing on Sunday. So we've got some exciting games coming up.
We'll be watching all of them. Joslyn Tinkle, Charlie Sitton, thank you so much for joining us. And go Beavers!
Go Beavers!
Yes!
Go Beavers! Thank you guys so much for having me.
You got it. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow back on the stream.